guys. Welcome into the Meet at the Creek podcast. I'm your host, Brother James Jeffrey, and it is good to be on the air one more time. Tonight, we've got a special guest in-house with us, one of my oldest friends, Mr. Craig Holcomb. He's not just a friend, but he's a brother. He's a church member here at the Creek, and, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, Craig. What's going on in your world?
Man, it ain't nothing but the rent, buddy, and I'm having to pay the bills.
I heard that. Well, you might want to turn that devil's drink around there that you're drinking on. It's got that Hebrew language on it.
Let me hide that.
That's a bad place for it. That man's the law, and he's trying to hide his drink.
It's been so long, I done forgot how.
I heard that. So, Craig, let's, the last time I think that you've been on the podcast a couple of times, live. I was looking back through the videos today. I managed to save a few of them before Facebook deleted all of them, that I had, and I moved them over to YouTube. But I believe I had you and Mark Moon and, Nathaniel Bates. Mark and Nathaniel both joined by telephone. You and I, when I had my room set up in the upstairs bedroom at my house,
right?
You came and sat in with me there, and that's when we infamously became known as Big and Little Linus.
Eastbound and down.
That's right. Renee says, "Hi, Craig."
Hello, Renee.
And Michelle.
That would be my cousin from Missouri.
Okay. Well, it's good to have. Do us a favor out in the Show Me State. Show us some love.
That's right. Like and share.
Yeah, like and share the thing, and let's see if we can get some folks watching from Missouri. Craig. I mean, I know I told it the other night on Facebook Live, but do you want to get into that tonight or not? I'll leave it up to you.
It don't matter to me, brother. We can get into it. The announcement, the official announcement with a Facebook media release and website release, things like that will happen at a later date. But I don't think it's any secret. A lot of people that know me know that I intend on running for sheriff of Jackson County.
Yeah.
And short of the Lord coming back or taking me home, that's my plan. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to kick this thing back just a little bit. And because the last time you were on the podcast, we were in the church, and you came sat in with me with Rocky, and I'm really glad you did, because I don't have any cop speak. I'm not the police, so I really have very little, to offer information wise. I can ask a few questions, but those are just general things, and I appreciated you doing that. And that episode was one of my most viewed and most participated in episodes that I had when I was doing it the last time. So I'm gonna do my best to watch. Hello, Miss Krista. Good to have you listening. Y'all like and share. If you're just joining in. Hello, Brother Josh. Brother Josh Parker. He's a pastor from over in Cool Springs, Georgia. Over there, I think it's in Chatsworth is where they're at over there, and became a friend of mine through the years, and been a real big supporter of the work that we've been doing over here. And I've been a big supporter of his too. God's been blessing his church, and we're very, very excited and thankful for him.
There's Sister Jessica on there. Hope she's doing well.
Oh, she's doing good. She was out and about today, and I told Brother Chris if she's well enough to go to the doctor, she's well enough to get to church. So she better be at church on Sunday.
That's right. Now, I'm just telling you something. This is messing with me. I've never thought about it watching you do the podcast when you say that there's a 40-second lag.
Yeah.
But when you're here doing it and you're looking at your phone and you just moved a certain way and then you got to wait, like 40 seconds. That's kind of creepy, dude.
I'm telling you, man, it's like being a sniper. You just gotta pick your battles. But it also means you got to be very careful about what you're doing. Do me just a favor right fast, Craig. Pull that thing just a little closer to you.
This way?
Yeah, that way right there. That way you're projecting real good and clear. Nobody's complaining yet, but I can hear it in my headphones. You sound just a little bit little bit far away.
Right. Sound better now?
It sounds great now, man.
Right.
Thank you. So Craig and I go back. I don't know how old you were the first time we met, Craig. It's been,
Oh, Lord.
golly, man. I do remember this. Micro machines were popular.
Yes. Yes. Transformers
Yeah.
hadn't been
Oh,
out
man,
long.
yeah.
The G1 stuff.
Yeah. Thundercats.
Yep,
Oh.
Thundercats, G.I. Joe, Voltron.
Oh yeah, man. Golly. He-Man and the Princess of Power. You know, it was
I would venture to say I couldn't have been much more than, I don't know, probably 6, 7 years old.
yeah, you were, you lived next door to Matt, and, yeah, it's amazing to me that, and you live next door to that house now.
Yep.
So you never have gone really far away, but it's amazing. You know, you just were next door there, and that was kind of a hub for us. There was 4 or 5 of us that always, you know, that lived in different places, and you just happened to be next door, and, you know, it just was what it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, after a little while of tagging along, you just kind of hopped in, and it was kind of weird, I guess, to start with, but then you just kind of became one of us growing up. And,
Right.
even though it took you a few years
To grow.
to grow up. And I'm not sure that's happened.
Well, according
totally.
to some, the only thing that's growed is my body. My head hasn't. So,
Well, you know, you don't get a nickname like yours, you know, without a long-standing friendship with the person who gave it to you.
yeah.
Some of those guys, you know, they loved you. You were near and dear to their heart, so they gave it to you, and it stuck. And we had a lot of nicknames for you down through the years.
We did.
Most of them, you know, we can't repeat anymore.
Especially in the church.
Oh yeah, on this side of the Lord, we, you know, in this Anno Domini part of our life, we don't get to do that. But you know, I think back a lot of times to a lot of those times we had a lot of fun, did a lot of stupid things, I guess too. You know, just not really to get in trouble. Most of the stuff we did right in the backyard, and you know, acting a fool. We thought we were the WWE wrestling, you know, organization, WWF back then.
Yep.
You know, we had a lot of fun. We did
brought the boom box out with the music.
Yeah, set off smoke grenades and strobe lights. We had strobe lights in your garage.
That's right.
You know, you had that good. I don't remember who that announcer was.
Howard Finkel.
That was it. You had the best, you know, ring announcer impression of anybody back in those days. You had that guy's voice down pat. I don't want to hear you do it now.
I don't know that I could.
You know, that 12, 13-year-old version of Craig had that down pat, man.
Chip Slayton. There's my old buddy Chip Slayton. I don't know how real the deal is, Chip, but Chip rode with me a lot when he was reserve.
Yeah.
Always been a good friend. It's good to see him there.
You know what's funny is once upon a time when Natalie was really, really small, I think, I mean, when I say really small, I'm talking about like elementary school young. Her and Chip was boyfriend, girlfriend, or was talking about being boyfriend, girlfriend there for a little bit. And I'll never forget my wife saying, you know, if they grow up and get married and they could have a son and name it after both of their dads and call it Tater Chip, you know. No offense, Chip, but I'm glad it didn't happen. It's kid wouldn't have had a chance.
Tater Chip.
Oh man. Things was a lot of fun back in the day. Hey, Michelle, how you doing? Hadn't seen your name in a long, long time. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you on here. Do me a favor, like and share if you see fit to do that. Hadn't seen Bubba on here tonight. Usually Bubba is one of the first ones to chime in. There's Dennis. Hello, brother. I heard y'all leaving here pretty soon, going on a trip. I think y'all had enough tripping. And if you're not going with, come up and hang out with us. Hey, man. Roger Brandon said, Craig, I'm 1084 to heaven.
Yeah, I think he's He's on the way to his house out at the Pike, but
Yeah.
the service is sketchy out there because I've been noticing it says Roger Brandon's watching, and Roger Brandon's watching.
Well, Alan Peters is just right up the road, and he's on fiber, so that means he's going in and out. He's just chiming in when he feels like it. We love you, Brother Alan. Amen. Amen. Well, Craig, before we go any farther, let me introduce, you a little bit, and then I'll give you some time to tell the rest of your story. You're quacking over there.
I am.
Just make sure that's off because we don't want your ringtone to pull.
It should be silenced.
Oh goodness. Well, Craig and I, as we've already said, we go way, way back to childhood, being buddies for a long, long time. We've been down the road together. Done things we probably wish we wouldn't have done, but nothing real bad. Growing up, I think we were both scared of our mamas a little bit, but
Yeah.
I remember one time Craig took up smoking cigarettes and like to burn my truck down in the Burger King parking lot on the way to Six Flags.
Yeah.
As the same trip, I lost my brand new Davy
Brand
Allison
new hat.
racing hat, and man, it was if that trip would have ended right there, it would have been bad, but we ended up having a pretty good time. My wife still has evidence of saying a good time. Stuffed away in a drawer over at the
Keep that
house.
stuff to yourself.
Natalie said I didn't hear the quack. She also didn't hear what I said about Chip Slate.
Yeah, she didn't hear about tater chip.
She probably don't even remember that, but I bet her mama does. Oh, goodness gracious, man.
Our brother Chris, he finally got on there.
Hey, I finally made it. You sure did, Chris. You fashionably late as usual, but you're a Baptist, so we'll let you slide.
Alan, I think you're making things up. I ain't said that I was watching 20 times. I've been watching this screen, and it ain't said that.
Oh, goodness. And Natalie said, yo.
You didn't.
Oh, I did.
Yes, he did.
Well, you know how I am, Natalie. I asked Coach Hollis for permission, and since he wasn't nowhere around, I just rolled with it. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, anyways, let's get back to it here so we don't take up too much time tonight. But, we go back a long ways. We've been up and down the road. We've had a lot of fun. Did a lot of the same things in life. And, your vocation took you one direction. Mine took me in another. And we both turned out, pretty good. And here we are, both vocations joined back together again, doing kind of the same things and going in the same direction. Life ain't always been easy when, it's not always fun, but I can tell you this, it's been an adventure. It really has. If it ended for me today, I'm tickled. I'll be satisfied with what I have and hadn't got to do in life. So, there are a few things I'd like to do. If I don't ever get to do them, I'll be okay. But I'm sure, Craig, for you, it's been a whole lot of the same thing. Before we get into the policing part of it, policing is definitely a part of your story. Before we get into the sheriff part of the thing, just take a few minutes and tell the people who maybe have never heard your story, a little bit about you. With this Cliff Notes version, the things that people maybe not know about Craig, but probably need to know about Craig.
Well, the Cliff Notes version is, of course, like I said earlier, me and you grew up together. It started when Matt Jordan moved in next to me. You and your mom and dad was living over in Goose Pond. Your dad was a truck driver. Your mom was driving a bus. Brad Patterson, his family was living over in McAllen. It was just a hop, skip, and a jump through the woods. And then you had some that lived in the trailer park that my dad helped run. And we all kind of just congregated, became friends. And I can tell you it's been an adventure. And I have friends from that area that a lot of times you drift apart, but it's like 2 or 3 of us just stayed together.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I even drifted apart there at one time.
Yeah, we did. Not really, but
We
just,
wasn't like we was, you know.
yeah,
So
we wasn't very close, I guess was the thing, but we were still friends.
growing up, me and James became very good friends, and I'll tell this story quick. It's a good laugh. But we was close enough that I went and spent the night with him once when he was, you know where this is going, when he was living with Granny Bonnie, and I went and spent the night with him, and I woke up and I was hungry, and you know I wasn't a nice figure that I am now.
Dude, you weren't hungry.
205 pounds. I looked like I had a tapeworm. But I woke up and I was hungry, and James wasn't up yet, so I go back there and I roused him up, you know, and I'm like, James, I'm hungry. Where's the food? And he says, in there in the cabinet. The bowls is with it. So I go in there and I find a box of cereal, Lucky Charms, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find the right bowl, obviously, because I ended up with one of Granny Bonnie's big mixing bowls. I mean, a big bowl. And I proceeded to pour not just a serving of the cereal, but the entire box.
And had it ate. I mean, you were slurping the leftover milk.
About half a gallon of milk.
Yeah.
And I was drinking the milk when James finally come into the kitchen, and of course he couldn't believe that I had ate all that, and then he proclaimed that he was hungry.
I was hungry, you know.
And he gets down the instant oatmeal, the Quaker oatmeal. I can't remember. It may have been strawberries and cream. I can't remember. It was some type. But
it was.
He done 4 packs, and I said, well, we don't want to leave these 4 packs in there by himself, so I done 4 packs.
Yes.
So we ate the entire box of oatmeal, and Granny Bonnie was ready to not have me come back and spend the night again because she figured out she couldn't afford feeding me.
No, man. I don't think anybody. I remember a church trip one time that I didn't get to go on. You were going to Shiloh, and the next day somebody called me, and I think it was Mylan, called me and said, "You'll never believe this. Greg ate dozens of
24 to be exact.
Yes.
24 soft tacos."
He's like, I have never seen anybody eat like that, be so small. And I don't know where you put all that, man. You had to be stuffing that stuff down in your legs and your calf muscles. And
Look, Brooke Bunch, you better be careful because the preacher is older than me, and we was not chiseling in stone when I was a kid.
Listen, BB's just jealous, you know. It's it's hard to, and you know, I go like this. Somebody told me one time it's most people work a lifetime to achieve greatness, and we've managed to do it in less than 50 years.
That's right.
Oh goodness.
But you know, I mean, we was always close, and James actually he actually surrendered to the Lord long before I did. Of course, I had thought that I had got saved when I was younger, teenager, but later on in life, I figured out that I was still lost as a goose, man. I wasn't saved. I just went up there and done that prayer because everybody else was doing it, and I was probably 13, 14 years old when that happened, maybe 12. I can't remember. But I remember you come to salvation before me, and I kept up with you. Of course, I was still living like a heathen, and you was growing in the ministry, and you ended up taking a church in New Hope, I think it was, New Hope, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to talking more and more. You know, we kind of drifted apart, and always just we could pick up whenever we seen each other, but I got to reaching out to you more and more, and then you know, Granny Coker got sick. Mr. Coker had done passed, and it was at that point that you began to be a huge influence. You was a huge influence in my life when we was younger, but it was that point that you really became a huge influence, and probably unbeknownst to you, began ministering to me without you even knowing it. But I remember Granny Coker was real sick, and I called you and I said, you know, Granny took us to church for years. Mm-hmm. I mean, every Sunday and Wednesday we was at Granny Coker's before we could drive, and we would ride with her. And then when you got to driving, you know, I'd try and always catch a ride with you. If I couldn't catch a ride with you, I'd ride up there with her and then ride back with you. But you know, she had been a big influence in our life, making sure that we was going to church, whether we was letting it take hold or not, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember calling you and saying, you know, James, I think Granny's close to the end, and I think it would just do her heart great for you to come down here and visit with her and let her see the change that God has put on your life and how you have matured in the faith, and just visit with her. And I think that would do her great, because, you know, that's all she ever wanted us to do, was to do well for ourselves and come to Christ. And, you know, I remember you come down there and you went in and y'all visited, and she had a great time. You could see it in her eyes. And then you prayed with her, you prayed with us, and then me and you walked out in the driveway, and I bet you we stood out there another 45 minutes after you walked out and just talked. But it was at that point that you actually became a huge influence in my life, which you wasn't the only one. You know, I had another friend that he actually got saved before I did, Mitchell Dendy, and he was all-time witnessing to me too. So I had a couple people that was very good influences in my life and witnessing to me. But it wasn't until it's 2017. I can't remember the date, and I think I've been over this before, but I can't even remember the sermon you was preaching. But you had moved to Bible Baptist, and my daughter Raylan had been born.
It was John 8. It was John 8 is about the woman taking in the act of adultery is what I was preaching on.
See, I couldn't even remember that.
I do remember it. It was, you know, because you commented on that thing at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was a Wednesday night. I was going through the Gospel of John, and for whatever reason, I just, you know, I have stopped posting those things on Facebook, and I'll be honest with you, because they stopped having the impact that they used to have. You know, especially during COVID, people just, they wouldn't come back, and I don't think people understand, you know, how painful that is, that people wouldn't come back. But anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But,
Yeah.
you know, but I do remember, and I remember because, you know, to me, you know, that night, with that happening to you, that was one of those moments in my life where, you know.
Well, if you remember, I commented, and you didn't comment back quick enough, and I texted, and I said,
Yes.
"Are you up yet, garbage man?"
Yeah.
Because you was still driving a garbage truck at the time.
Yeah, I was.
And but I was actually at work. I had left investigations and been promoted to night shift lieutenant over a shift of deputies. And it was, like I say, it was probably 1 o'clock when I pulled over. I was on County Road 30 at County Road 17 at the old, if any of y'all have been down there, there used to be an old propane tank farm down there. And that's where I had pulled over. I had decent internet service, and the RMS system that we had, you know, and the one we've got now, the supervisor still has to go in and look at the reports and make sure they don't need any correction, and, you know, approve them or send them back. And so I had pulled over. We had 2 or 3 reports that night, and I had done that. And I thought, well, I didn't get to, you know, I had to work tonight, so I didn't get to go to church. And so I pulled up the YouTube, because you was sharing them on YouTube then. And I can remember vividly sitting there and starting to watch it, and the singing started, and I was like, I don't want to hear it. I'm ready to hear the preaching, you know. So I was able to fast forward to the preaching, and I remember you started preaching, and I don't know at what point, but, you know, I could just feel the heaviness, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes, and you hadn't even made it all the way through the message, and I'm sitting there sobbing like a baby in a police car in uniform, glad that nobody come by, because they would have thought I was either crazy or about to kill myself. Sitting in a cop car with a loaded gun, and I'm sobbing. But I can remember sitting there just sobbing and looking up towards the sky, and all I could keep repeating was, God, I can't do this anymore. I need you. I'm sorry. I can't do it anymore. I need you. I give in. And it was just like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders. I had such a peace. And I commented, and then James didn't answer quick enough, and me being impatient. because I knew he got up early because he drove the garbage truck, and they start running them things about 3:30.
Yep.
And so I texted him, "You up yet, garbage man?"
He did.
And he said, "Yeah, what's up?" I said, "I'm going to call you." And we both shouted the victory there for a little bit. So,
you know, the funny story about that, you used to, every morning when you were on night shift, I think you figured out what time I went to work. You used to blue light me every morning on my way to work. I'd get so mad at you. I was like, if he ever pulls me over.
Well, I must make a confession. You know, the other day you said that you had to go to Huntsville and I was going to be out on that traffic grant, the DUI grant.
Yeah.
And I told, it's either Brooke or Dawn. I said, I'm going to get the preacher. I'm going to get out there and watch for him. I don't care if he's speeding or not. I'm gonna make it where you can't get a 16 penny nail up him. But
I ain't worried about the popo.
Okay, my dear. Call the popo.
Yeah, called him. I ain't scared of no popo. Oh goodness. Oh gosh. Well, you know, life has a funny way, you know, bringing us full circle. But the Lord has a fantastic way of bringing us back together. And, you know, when God does something, he does it forever, Bible said. And I'm thankful for a friendship that has, you know, and I got a few of them. I got friends, true friends that I can count on both hands. And that's more blessed than most people can actually say. I know that. But I got some really good friends that have been with me, you know, for a long, long time. And some of those guys aren't even, they're just not close. They're not close by, you know, but if I need them, I really still believe I could call on them, and they'd be here. And, but I share things in common with all of those people, and that's that we've been through some really, really hard times together and didn't kill each other.
Yeah.
And so, you know, by outlasting the struggles, you know, it built strong bonds and great friendships that'll last, you know, a lifetime. I'm thankful for all of them. But Craig, that said, you know, you've done about everything as a law enforcement officer. I sat down today at work and I started jotting down some questions. And
now this worries me right here.
Yeah, you know,
catching me off guard.
You know, the hot seat is what it's all about. And, you know, you being in investigations, you understand what's about to happen.
You haven't Mirandized me yet.
Craig, you have the right to remain silent, but you don't have the
Brooke
ability.
Bunch and Dawn Jeffrey as my attorneys. Please seek their counsel.
They cannot be attorneys. They're more like private investigators. They're the people who, you know, who'll go out and scout you out. But they're not attorneys. They're not going to argue for you. They're going to put you on the hook. So I'm not alive right now, so I can't really see, you know, what they're saying.
Well, you know, there's a 40-second delay. I'm like, you know.
Yeah, I understand. Don Jeffrey, Book Bunch, facts.
Yeah.
Neither does his friend, I'm assuming.
They're talking about me telling a quick story.
Amen. That's right, Michelle. Just saw your comment there, and I count Jeff as one of those very close friends of mine. He's a great guy, and I'm very thankful that he's coming through that, and then we're still, you know, continuing to remember him and Nick and all your families in prayer. I hope that everything comes out of that even better than before. But so Craig, right fast, like I'm gonna put you on the hook, and you were able to tell that story a whole lot quicker than what I thought you was gonna tell it. So I'm gonna put you on the hook.
I can tell you, me and you got one thing in common. We both like to talk,
we
could talk to that wall till it talk back. So
well, the good thing is the camera's at the bottom left corner of that. So I want you to look at that thing, and you just hear my questions, and you talk to that thing for a few minutes because I want you to answer them. There's a bunch of them. There's 25 of them.
Oh my gosh!
And I want to get through them. I want to get through all of them, and I do, and I want to get through all of them because I feel like it's important because people need to know you know, you. And
Right.
this is not a campaign thing. I may end up, you know, bringing whoever else is running on, and if I do, I promise you, I'm gonna ask them the same exact questions. But you know, one of the things that I have always kind of never done is I have never supported political candidates. In my life, I've supported three, publicly supported three. Mark Moon, my friend, who ran for sheriff of Blount County, which I don't even vote down there, so really, it is what it is. But he's my buddy. I support him. Greg Bell ran for Board of Education. I supported him because he's my buddy. And we go back till way back to when I was a teenager. And if he runs for something else, I'm gonna support him again because he's my friend. It ain't got nothing to do with political affiliation. And the same with you. You're my friend, and then you'd run for dog catcher out of you know, Craig Holcomb for dog catcher, but you just so happen to be running for sheriff, and nothing against nobody else, but you're my friend, and I'm gonna support my friend. And you know, if you end up not winning, I'm gonna do my best to support whoever wins. You know, because I want what's best for everybody. I do want what's best for our county, and the best way to do that is to make sure that, you know, we prop up our leaders to the best of our ability, support who's in there the best we can, no matter how we feel about them personally or even professionally sometimes. You know, I never forget, you know, in the Bible, God told Israel when they went into captivity, pray for the peace of Babylon, pray for the peace of the Persians, you know, because if my favor's on them, that means you'll be blessed too. So even if things ain't exactly the way we want it, pray for the peace of the land and pray for the best outcome for everybody. So
Your wife, she heard that 25 question thing. She says, see y'all in the morning. They going to be a while.
Get behind me, Satan. Hey, man. I'm going to be in trouble.
All right, let's go before we start talking about something else.
Let's do it. All right, Craig. So what inspired you to get into law enforcement to begin with?
Well, it started when I was very young. I always was infatuated with the police, and you know, they would come down the road, and I'd have to see what they was doing. I'd want to talk to every one of them that would talk to me. You know, the ones like Ferry Washington. Some of y'all may not be able to remember him, but I can remember there's a wreck up by the house one time in the curve. And I found back then the police toted these big 4D cell mag lights, which that's what I started with. But I found it in the ditch. And when I found it, we called the police department, said, hey, we think we found a police officer's flashlight. And so they sent a car down there, which just happened to be Ferry Washington. And he come down and picked me up. And as, you know, I guess a reward for turning the flashlight in, I got to ride in the police car. I went to the police station. I met the police chief, went in dispatch, and got to go back to see the jail. They didn't let me go in the jail because of my age, and there was prisoners there. But I've always been infatuated with law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And then when my sister married, her father-in-law was actually a police officer for Scottsboro, John Edmonds. And John took the time to mentor me, to nurture that, you know, let me see what law enforcement was like. He took me on ride-alongs. And you fast forward years in the future when, you know, after I got out of basic training, and I'm a young man, and I still wanted to be a police officer. I've always, you know, I've looked at other things, but I always wanted to be a police officer. And so I come back from boot camp in the Army, and I'm in the Guard unit, and lo and behold, I meet Mitchell Dindy. I'm 17 years old. And he's the supply sergeant over there. Well, that was his full-time job. He was also a police officer. Mm-hmm. And at that time, he worked for Collinsville. And, you know, me and him hit it off and became big buddies. And then next thing you know, I'm going over there every Friday and Saturday night riding with him in Collinsville. And so then he took the time to show me the ropes and what the police done. And this was but mind you, this was old school police, but you know, it was a little bit different back then. But I got to see the inner workings, and I was mentored by these men that was police officers, and it just made my longing to make that my career and my passion more and more until eventually I got a job. Mike Wells ended up hiring me, and I started in the jail. I worked in the jail for a year and a half, 2 years. I actually showed some, in my opinion, what helped me get the job as deputy after I started at the jail was I actually talked them into sponsoring me and enrolled myself into Jefferson County Sheriff's Academy and started going to the Reserve Sheriff's Academy on the weekends while maintaining that full-time job at the jail.
Yeah, I remember that.
And eventually Mike ended up hiring me, and we moved forward pretty quick because he knew the sheriff down in Jefferson County, Mike Hale.
You paid for that. You paid for that yourself, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I never thought I remembered that. Like they sponsored you, but you had to pay the whole thing out of your own pocket. That's how bad you wanted to go.
And just so you know, I showed up with the. Now I have to be 100% honest. My parents paid for my sister's college, and so when I got ready to do that, I had saved up some money, but it was not enough to pay for the full tuition to the academy. And so my dad knew that I was trying to do it, and him and Mom come to me and said, "Listen, we paid for your sister's academy, or for her schooling, her college, and if this is what you want to do, then we'll foot the bill. We'll pay the money." And so they did. They gave me a check for the tuition, and I showed up on the first weekend. And the way it goes is you show up, and you have to do the PT test and the agility course. And if you don't pass that, then you go down there on Friday evening and you do it Saturday. Yeah. If you don't pass it, then Sunday you had to retake it. If you didn't pass it the second time, they let you come back Monday. And if you fail it again, then you can't re-enroll in the police academy for so long. But if you paid, they make you pay some money up front. You had to pay at least half. And if you flunked out, whatever money you paid them, you kept, or they kept, not you. You didn't. There wasn't no refund because you wasn't ready. If you paid them $500 to go ahead and take the PT test, if you flunked all 3 times, that $500 was theirs. Right. So you better be ready. And I remember I walked up with that check for the full tuition. I think it was like $1,500 back in. I think police academy now they have to pay like $3,500, but it was like $1,500 back then. And so I walked up with a full check for the $1,500, and one of the instructors, Sergeant Brian, I'll never forget him. He looked up and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Now you realize that if you fail this PT test and you don't pass it on the retake, you don't pass it Monday, that you're just out this $1,500. We're not refunding you." I said, "I got this, Sarge. I got it. Go ahead and take it." So I was confident, which I had been working, to make sure that I was going to be able to pass. So
yeah. Well, so we know what inspired you. How has your career as a deputy, do you think, prepared you to take on the role as a sheriff?
Well, I think it's my whole career, not just as a deputy, but my whole career that I've had at that office. I have done about everything you can do at that office except for register sex offenders and sell pistol permits. Yeah. I've answered the phones. I can remember one time when we was short on dispatchers and the deputies would have to come in and take 2-hour shifts dispatching. But I started out in a jail, and that's a place that a lot of people don't want to start out at. I really didn't want to work in the jail. I'm thankful that I did because it taught me a lot. Yeah. But I started in the jail just because I knew that would get my foot in the door to get to where I wanted to be one day, hopefully. But in doing that, you learned how to deal with people that was in the criminal element or had made mistakes or was frequent flyers at the jail. You learned how to deal with people. Most of them would learn how to deal with, some of them didn't, but most of them would learn how to deal with people with tact. And the old adage that you catch more flies with honey instead of doo-doo. Yeah. That is 100% true, because what I learned, even these huge guys, that was big enough to squash me like a grape back then, if you would just go to them and talk to them like a person and treat them like a person, they're going to give you the respect that you want. They're going to respect you. They're going to respect that badge. They're going to respect your position, the uniform. But it's all about, realizing that you put your britches on one leg at a time, just like anybody else. It's just a career. And so I've done everything from working in the jail. I became a deputy on the road, started on night shift. I was promoted to investigations. I worked general investigations for a while. And I know that a lot of people don't understand what I say when I say general investigations, but that's your forgeries, your thefts, your burglaries, your robberies, murders. That is what we would call general criminal investigations. I worked narcotics for a couple years, which everybody knows what working drugs is. They call it a narcotics agent, and I've done that for a couple years. I spent a total of 8 years in investigations, and then I come back out in supervision as a lieutenant on night shift over patrol, in which now I'm on day shift. But the fact that I have done about everything you can do there, I think really prepares me for that office if I'm elected, because I have a knowledge of how everything works, how it's run. I've seen the inner workings of it. Now, naturally, some of the stuff that I haven't seen, because they really don't share that a whole lot, is budgets and things of that nature. But I've been there long enough that I do know some about the budget. I don't get to see the numbers, but I know where the money comes in from and what we're supposed to get here and how you have to spend it. You're going to have your maintenance and all this stuff. But as far as actual numbers, they don't let just anybody see that.
I understand that it works the same way in my job too. You kind of already answered the third question I had, which was, experience that you in your career that might have shaped your leadership philosophy. And you kind of already said that is learning to deal with, the people that you were going to be arresting. You started out in the jail, and that kind of shapes, your ideology,
Right.
for the future. So I'll move on to the fourth question. What lessons have you learned from working alongside the community and, current and former leadership in the sheriff's office day to day? What lessons have you learned working alongside them that you believe will help you, if you win the election?
I'll start with the community. It over the years, it has been amazing to me the different styles of policing you have to use in different portions of the county, different communities. And this is a large county. I don't think some people realize exactly how large the county is. And we've had rookies that started saying, man, I never knew this place was this big. I didn't realize how big Jackson County was till I got out and started riding with y'all. But I can tell you that if you drive the speed limit, you can start in Bridgeport on 72 and go to the Madison County line, and it's going to take you right at 40 to 45 minutes. I mean, it's a huge county, which granted you have to go through Scottsboro and the red lights, but it's almost, I think it's right at 1,100 square miles. And you take somewhere like DeKalb County, I think DeKalb County is only like 500 or 600 square miles. So we cover a lot of land. We've got a lot of roadway, got a lot of different communities. And you learn in each one of these communities who's willing to talk to you, who you can go to. Then as they get to know you, if you're out in the area and you're meeting people, and as they get to know you, you get more and more that will talk to you and that will say, hey, we're having this problem or whatever it may be. And I've told a lot of the guys, I've told a lot of other people that's asked me too, like take for instance, when I was working narcotics, I could go to the west side of the county, which would be Skyline, Paint Rock Valley, Woodville, Aspel, Limrock, or I could go to the north end of the county, which was Bryant, Flat Rock, Higdon, Hogjaw Valley, and I could get somebody with dope, good little bit amount of dope, and I say, okay, you want to go to jail? You want to go home? Well, what do you mean? Well, you want to help me and stay out? You scratch my back, I scratch yours, or that's going up the ladder, or you want to go to jail? Well, what am I looking at? Well, you got an 8 ball of dope at that time that I was working it. 8 ball of dope lands you about somewhere in it, depending on your criminal history, 5 to 10 years in the prison system. On that side in the north end at the time, if you get, you're looking anywhere from 5 to 10 years, depending on your criminal history. You know, and they'd be like, well, I'll just go do my 10 years. Do what? No, just take me on to jail, man. They'll burn me out. Man, no, just take me on to jail. But now I could go to like certain places in Section or Macedonia or Dutton. I'm telling you, dude, they was some people that I could pick them up and take them to Reed's Grocery at Dutton and buy them a cheeseburger and fries and a Coca-Cola, and I'd get meth labs for a month.
I know one of them out there in that area that sung like a canary every time you arrested him. But anyway, it wasn't me.
Let's not give that up on.
Yeah, we're not going to say that out loud.
Yeah.
I know a few people that are probably singing already.
Yeah. But, you know, you learn the different styles you have to take in each area of the county. And some of them over the years has changed. But as the community gets to know you more, they'll talk to you more. And you know, I've done this. November, I'll start my 27th year. But I like to think that there's quite a few people that know me. According to Brook Bunch, you cannot take me anywhere where I don't run into somebody that knows me, whether it's Tennessee or Huntsville or wherever, because we've been places and people just come up and go talking to me. She's like, how do you come to Chattanooga, Tennessee and run into 3 people that know you? You know, but you learn the different styles, and I think being able to talk to people and being able to relate to people and being able really just to listen to what they have to say instead of automatically trying to give them just a standard answer to get them away from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get to where they'll talk to you more, and I believe that I'm able to just be real with folks, and they connect with that.
Yeah.
Deputy wise, that was the other part of the question, right? Deputy.
Yeah.
Deputy wise, I feel like I've always been able to work with anybody, even people that, you know, we didn't see eye to eye on everything, or we had varying views on different things. When it come time to go to work, you know, I didn't have to go eat cookies with them when I was off, or, you know, we didn't, it ain't like we smoked cigarettes out of the same pack all the time. I mean,
right.
But when it was time to go to work,
right.
we was able to go and do what we needed to do it professionally, and be able to put that mess behind you and do what was best for not only for the office, but the citizens of the county.
Right.
And able to just work with anybody.
So why are you running for sheriff? I mean, what makes you want to do something like that? I mean, knowing what's coming, you know, knowing the boo-boo storm that's headed directly at you. You know what I mean? People, there are going to be some that, regardless of how professional you try to carry on a campaign, there's going to be some people that are going to try to burn your drawers off, you know? And, I mean, it's just, we know that's what comes along with being out front.
Yep.
You're gonna always get your underwear burned off, you know, on the stage, but it's just the way it goes. But why in the world would a man want to run for a political office in this day and age?
Well, you know, to me, that's a pretty simple answer. When I was hired in, Mike Wells was the sheriff that hired me in. And that office had a family feeling. It was like your extended family. And Mike Wells was always just a phone call away. Whether it was for us or whether it was for the community. Mm-hmm. He was there for the people. And I really looked up to that. I really respected that. And, you know, I'm not saying that none of the other sheriffs that I've served under hasn't been that way, but Mike is the first one that comes to mind because Mike was the one that hired me. Yeah. Dennis Miller, I grew up with Dennis's boys, and Dennis was always willing to listen to what you had to say. Now, you may not have liked the answer that you got in return, but you never had a question about where he stood. And if you done something wrong, Dennis called you in. He gave you the proverbial chastening of your legs and striped them. And then that was it. It was over.
Yeah.
Once he got done, it was over. It was like it never happened. You could just carry on, and he would carry on like it never happened. And he would always end with, "Okay, do you understand what you've done wrong, and do you understand how you need to fix it?" "Yes, sir." "Okay, that's it. We're moving forward." And that would be it. That would be the end of it. You wouldn't, unless you done it again, you never heard it, and you didn't want to do it again, because then it usually ended up in paper and possibly your job. But Mike was the first sheriff that come to mind, just because he was the one that hired me. That was the sheriff that I started under and really got my feet wet in law enforcement. But the reason that I wanted to run and take that office was because all through my career, the sheriffs that I've served under, and there's always been people in the department that seem like, it's kind of like mama's the glue that holds the family together. Mm-hmm. And you have people in leadership positions that's the glue that holds that office together. And I've seen some of that kind of stray away. And, I'll just be honest, I think that there's a morale problem at that office. And I really think that I can go in and do some things, just small things, to fix it. If you've got, and I told this to my shifts when I took over a shift, I said, listen, everybody don't like working the north. Some guys just don't like working the north. Some guys don't like working the west. Some people like serving warrants. Some people don't like serving warrants. I said, it takes all kinds to make this thing work. Mm-hmm. Whatever your niche is, whatever you're happy at, whatever you enjoy doing, if you're doing that, you're going to do 110% better job. So I would have guys that, they just didn't want to work the north. But this guy over here didn't want to work the south. And the guy that's supposed to be assigned to the north wants to work the south. Okay. If you two want to swap, that's fine with me. Well, y'all can swap. And so I would have people that would serve 2 tours of our rotation in the south and 2 up here in the north. But what you find when you do that, not only is that deputy happier and you get a better work product and work ethic out of him, but they take more pride in the job.
Yeah.
Just from being there. So, short answer is I want to do it because I've always been taught, and especially when I was in the military, you lead from the front. And if you're willing to get out there, and these guys know that you've got their back, and they know that you'll get out there and work with them if they need it. And I've seen it happen on my shifts. They'll work 100% harder just to make you look good because they feel like you're taking care of them, and it improves the morale. And then your morale gets higher. Then everybody's happy. Then you get a better department. You get a better work ethic. You get more stuff done, and before you know it, things happen. They fall into place.
Do you have a list of priorities? I mean, you don't have to tell it if you don't want to, but do you have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3 things you want to get done? Early on, like. I'm not talking about personnel wise necessarily. I'm talking about just agenda wise, just goals that you want to see, things you want to see happen. You've already talked about improving morale and, working still, continue to work in the community and
Absolutely.
Try to build those. So I can imagine those are probably number 1 and number 2 on your list, but is there anything outside of that that's, up on your priority list?
I have got a priority list, and you hit it pretty close. Department morale is the number 1 thing that I think needs to be fixed first.
And we could I'm well versed enough in politics that we could really go, down the rabbit hole. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spare everybody.
Yeah.
Just because I like it don't mean everybody else does. But we understand how that works. You don't always. I think a lot of people don't understand, Craig, in spite of our well-meaning agenda, things we really, really want to see get done, there's a lot of red tape in politics.
There is. There is a ton of it.
Just because but we see it with the paving of the roads. I think most people don't understand. I'll just use that for example. It has nothing to do with the sheriff's office, but most people don't understand it. You don't go down to Walmart and get asphalt. What Robin Shelton said one time. You don't go down to Walmart and get asphalt and pave the roads. That just ain't how it goes. There's a process, and it takes forever. And then, people will run on that, and they'll make a guy look bad or a girl or lady look bad, whoever it's in office that they're running against, and they'll say, well, they're not getting it done, but then they get in office and they can't get it done either because they find out that it just ain't as easy as you think it is. There's a big, long, drawn out process, and things are they're on the books. They're in line to get done, and just so happens that and then every once in a while, a little money will come in for a certain project, and that project will get done, and things that have been waiting for 3 years over here still waiting, and it looks bad, but you can't not do something that you get funding for because you're still waiting on a grant to come through over here. So there's a lot of that goes on in the offices. I don't think the majority of the general public really understands that, and having a view from the inside now, it's frustrating. I promise you, there's an old adage about nobody wants to win the game more than the players and the coaches. Fans want to win the game, we think, worse than they do, but really we don't. It's just that, from the inside looking out, you understand that there's more to it than just, what they want you to see sometimes. So,
I'll follow up your question. Like I said, morale and community police and all that's great, but I'll tell you one thing that, and I can't, if I'm in there, all I can do is advocate. If I get elected, I can advocate, and I can do what I can through that. We've got a huge pay problem. And I know people don't want to hear that, but just hear me out for a second. If you want good first responders, whether it's EMTs, firefighters, police officers, detention officers, you've got to pay a competitive salary that these people can make a living on and feel comfortable making that living. I mean, they ain't got to make enough money that they're taking, 6, 7 cruises to Hawaii every year. But my goodness, they need to make enough money that they're not living paycheck to paycheck, and they can take their family on a vacation at least once a year. Yeah. I think most people would agree that's the life that they want. Now, they would like to be able to travel more, but generally, if a family can operate and not live from paycheck to paycheck and be able to take their wife and their kids, or just their wife or whatever, on at least one nice vacation trip a year, then they feel like they're doing okay. But the sad truth is, and I'll just put it out here because I know for a fact, I had a deputy at one time on my shift that quit and went to another agency. And one of the big reasons was pay. Now, this certain deputy had 6 years experience here as an employee of the sheriff's office, and I think he's only 5 years certified law enforcement experience, but he done like a year in the jail. Anyways, he'd been here 6 years. That deputy made $20.74 an hour. You can go to Lozier on night shift and make more than that. And I get it. Money's always tight, but if you want good police, good first responders, good firefighters, good EMS, you've got to be willing to keep the salary and the benefits competitive with what's around you.
Ain't nobody at Lozier on night shift putting their life on the line for people they don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, I worked in the rug mill over at Maples for a decade and a half, a little over a decade and a half. There's no way I would have policed for what I got paid at Maples.
Yeah.
No offense to Maples, and I appreciate having that job and being able to provide for my family there the time I worked there. I can tell you right now, I don't want to police for what I make at the solid waste office. I mean, and it's dangerous enough. I've been out on the job there. It's one of really and truly, the solid waste industry is one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. It's in the top 5 of the deadliest jobs in the world.
Look at what you're dealing with. What
I mean, you're
what did you call it? The garbage juice? Or
the jungle juice.
Jungle juice, that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, man. It's but not all of that, a lot of people don't know, when I was out on the truck still, when I was working in recycling, it was curbside, and we were out in the residential. I just got ran over. I physically got ran over by a car on 3 different occasions. People just not paying attention. on Moody Ridge Road one time. I'll never forget it. It was a Chevy Impala. That dude was running over 50 miles an hour on Moody Ridge Road and hit me, shattered his mirror, and like shattered my elbow.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was bad messed up. Lady had a diabetic was having a diabetic episode one time over on Meadow Street there between between Scott and Market. And I'm out, can't see her. I'm there, you know, pressing the recycling into the truck. She's trying to get to the doctor. She don't even need to be driving, but she knows she's sick. Instead of calling an ambulance, she just gets in the car, tears out, loses her faculties, and drives her car up under my truck with me on the hood of her car, driving me up under her truck. Those are things that people don't understand. You know, and policing is one of those things too. And I get it. I see the videos. I get so frustrated, you know, but I think a lot of what you're saying, Craig, is so true. Is if you want policing to get back to the standard it used to be, we're going to have to make it a job, make it the pay so good that only the elite can get it.
Yeah.
And then your quality will go back up.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're just hiring warm bodies, you're just throwing warm bodies at something. That's no offense to people, but all of these stuff you see with these people who don't care about their jobs and who have no pride, you know, the reason that you're seeing a lot of this is because of the quality. And
you get some of them that when they come in there and they hear what you have to do, or they work a couple of days and see what you go through, see what you do, see what you have to deal with, you know, on a daily basis. And some days is worse than others. Yeah. And they say, really, I'm doing that for this? I can go over here to Walmart and within 2 years be making about, you know, $5, $6, $7 more than what I would be here.
Man.
The reality of it is that dude that I was telling you about that left that made $20.74 an hour, he had 6 years experience, 5 years post certified, best I remember. He went to a neighboring agency. I won't call the agency's name, just to keep some things down. But he went to a neighboring agency. They was hiring people off the street. If they hired you off the street as an uncertified police officer with no training, they hired you in at $20.71 an hour, 3 cents less than what he made after being here 6 years. And I get it. You know, it's a money thing, and I know the commission does, you know, the best that they can, and I'm not blaming anybody. But it is an issue that you can't shy away from, and you're going to have to face. We've got to quit kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
We've got to fix it, because if, like you say, if you want it to return to the standard that it once was, where it was a revered job, it was considered, you know, if you was a pillar of the community, you know, it was one of them upscale jobs, because not just anybody could get it. Now it's to where, you know, you have trouble filling deputy positions because you're not getting any applications because the pay is so low. They know that. I mean, take the jail. Okay, let's just take the jail, for example. When you work in that jail, it's not like when you work on the road and you can arrest the dude and deal with him for a few minutes and get him to the jail and he's acting crazy and smearing poop everywhere or whatever he's doing. You know, we get them to the jail and we drop them off and then they're stuck. I mean, the jailers, they've got to deal with them, whereas I deal with them, you know, on the ride to the jail, or what I deal with them out in the field. So they deal with them until they bond out. And it's not just one, you know, they average about 200 in that jail. And I think the jail starts out a little bit over $16 an hour now. But, you know, you could go to McDonald's and flip hamburgers for the drive-through and make as much or more than what you made for working that jail.
Stirring the hornet's nest. Well, they like the comment.
Oh, I ain't even looked at it. But,
don't even look. We got to get through this. Hey.
But it's something that's got to be dealt with. And, you know, even if you're elected, you can't. I'm not making any promises, because the last thing that I want to do is make a promise and then get in there and figure out that I can't do what I promised.
Yeah. Well, the only promise really that anybody can honestly make And if anybody who ever ran for office would remember this, the only actual promise you can make is I'm going to do my best to advocate for the people who elected me and the people who work for me.
Well, that's what I was about to say. The only promise that I can make you is that nobody I don't think is going to out effort me. I will show up there and give 110% every day to make that the best sheriff's office that I can, and advocate for the deputies and the citizens all that I can, and past that, I can't make any promises.
Down through the last few years, I've had the opportunity to interview council people and county commissioners and business owners, and and I can tell you this: there's not a lot of understanding anymore about how things, really work. I saw a comment there in the thread a minute ago about some departments generating enough money to give their own raises, and that is true. And then, but like with the county, for instance, the county's got a rule, in place that the only way they can give raises there, everybody's got to get a raise, no matter how much you generate. If everybody can't have one, you can't have one, and things like that. And I get it.
And the county is very limited at what they can do to generate more funds.
I don't think people understand that either in the county. I don't aspire for political office, so I can say things that other people can't say, probably get away with it, maybe get reported, might lose my show or whatever. But, that there's authority coming down way up higher than the county commission that strangleholds, those commissioners.
Yep.
And you can't, as hard as they want to try, they can only go as far as the law let them go.
Yep.
They can only do as much as the law let them do. And I know, and personal feelings aside, of anybody that's ever ran for office, I have supported people that were in office. I liked them. I thought they were doing a great job, and hated to see them get voted out. The next one comes in, and I'm doing my best to support them and trying to do the best job I can. Not because I'm switching loyalty, because it has nothing to do with my loyalty, is to my employer. Ultimately, want to do a good job, the best I can do. But like I said earlier, but in supporting these people, and then that's what I meant a minute ago was, and you've seen it too. They find out once they get in office, the sharks are in the water, man.
Yeah. Hey, this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
No, I mean, you're standing on the stage naked and everybody's laughing and you don't know what they're laughing about, but it is absolutely not as easy to do as anybody enters in thinking it is. And, sometimes, I found out that politics is more
I'm
about
just
relationship.
not taking a drink.
Yeah.
Man, that gets me. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So I'm going to burn through these questions. I want you to give me 30-second answers. Okay.
I'll try.
No, don't try. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to count to 30 in my head. All right. If elected, how do you envision balancing public safety and building community trust? Go.
Oh, Lord. Tell me that again. If elected.
If elected, how do you envision being able to balance public safety with building community trust?
Well, the biggest thing to build community trust is to be out there and be transparent. And, not just me, but you would want your deputies, if you're going through that community, they see John Doe out here mowing or drinking a glass of tea or whatever, stop and talk to him. Stop and get to know him. Let him get to know you. And as far as public safety, we don't write the laws, we just enforce them. All right. And that's what I would tell them to do, guys. Enforce the law, give breaks with education when you can, but enforce the law. If somebody needs to go to jail, then they just need to go to jail. If somebody needs a ticket, they just need a ticket. Have some compassion, have some empathy, and as long as they're nice to you, you be nicer to them until they won't let you.
Yeah.
But your job is to enforce the law.
What is your plan to address, and this is a tricky question, so you think about it. I'm going to use two phrases, one being crime prevention, the other being crime response. some people don't know the difference between the two, and that's okay.
Active and proactive.
Active and proactive. So what's your plan to address each?
So, you don't want to be reactive, because if you're reactive, then you're just trying to play catch up. You're letting stuff happen, or things is happening, and then you're having to solve it and make an arrest. And I get it. We can't always be proactive because we're a small department. We haven't got the manpower that a Madison County or a Marion County or Atlanta Metro PD or Nashville PD. We're not a big department. We're short-handed, so we're kind of hamstrung in that, and a lot of times we have to be reactive just because we don't have enough help. But what we would want to do is to be proactive. We would want to be out there with 2 or 3 and 4 in areas that are target areas, or we're seeing more burglary reports or more DUIs in, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You want more people in them areas. Now, the only way that I know right off the bat to do that is we're going to have to flex some of our manpower, because sometimes you have 4 or 5 deputies out, and sure, there's civil papers to be served, and there's a bunch of warrants up there to be served, but you've got 4 or 5 deputies out, and there's just not a lot of calls. And if you know that the majority of your calls is happening later, why don't we scale back some in the hours that we know not a lot's happening, that we're able to serve civil papers or whatever, and let's put more on the street when things start heating up, when your calls start heating up, because then you've got people that can be backup officers that can do proactive patrols once these people gets out, and you've still got enough people to answer calls.
Well, you already answered my 9th question, is about strengthening relationships between the sheriff's office and the community, and you already said, encouraging your officers to go out and build those relationships during downtime, or they see a guy out, in the heat, or you see videos all the time of, officers stopping to play basketball with kids in the street when they got nothing going on, they're out there shooting hoops. Those are things that build community.
They need to be involved, and that's just, that goes with businesses as well as individuals. I mean, what's it going to hurt if you don't need a drink or a honey bun or whatever you might want, just to stop in somewhere and say, hey, I just thought I'd stop by and introduce myself. I'm working this area for right now. Everything going all right? Business owners like that too.
Those people at Duncan, they pretty well know you by your first name.
They know me on a first name basis. They also know which refresher I like.
Oh, okay. All right. So what role do you see schools, churches, and other civic organizations playing in public safety?
Churches, I would want, and this may seem cliche, but it's honest. I would want that office to be rooted in faith and in Christ. And I'm not trying to push anything out. Each person has to. I don't want to take away their free will, the same as Christ allows us to have free will. But just like it says, if you don't hear it, you can't understand it. I would want that office to be rooted in Christ as much as it could, and that's from the deputies to the inmates to the office ladies to the people in other offices in the courthouse. I would want them to be able to see the faith-based sheriff's office activities, devotionals, letting the deputies get involved with, the fall festival for matter, just for instance, church has a fall festival. What's it going to hurt to have a deputy or me or whoever with the office come down and be present at it, get in the Duncan booth, whatever. I mean, that builds relationships with your churches. Your churches is going to hear some things that you're not going to hear. They're going to come in and be supportive of you. And at the same time, witnessing can begin. Ministering can begin. And some people that may not normally have opened up to being witnessed to or ministered to, before you know it, they've opened up.
Right.
I could go further, but I'm going to tell you.
I'm
out of time.
You're good. How do you think you'll handle concerns from citizens who feel disconnected or maybe don't have a lot of trust in law enforcement in general?
There's a lot of people that don't have a lot of trust in law enforcement right now, just because of the climate of the country, and it's sad that it's got that way. But the only way that you can nurture them and get them to trust you again as you know, you can't talk down to them. You can't look down on them. Hear their complaint, hear their concern, and then explain to them what your answer is. You know, it may not be the answer that they want to hear, you know, but you've got to be honest enough with them to say, listen, I understand what you want, but this is why we can't do that, or this is why we can do that, or this is what we can do. No, we can't do that. Main thing is you've got to listen to them, and whether it hurts their feelings or not, be honest with them, because a person will respect you much more if you just go ahead and hurt their feelings and they're honest with your honesty and say, no, that
transparency, accountability. You know, today there's a term that's going around real popular right now. If you say you're gonna do something, you just gotta stand on business, man. You know, you gotta be honest. You gotta be as transparent as you can. But in law enforcement, I think some people don't understand is, and I have the luxury too of having friends that have worked in narcotics and other things, and you know they go undercover in different places. They're putting their lives on the line trying to get dope off the streets, and you know we got a real problem. You know, not just in America, but right here in Jackson County, we got a real drug problem, and it's bounced. You know, and it's went from one extreme to the other. It used to be crack, and then it was meth, and then it was back to heroin, and then now it's fentanyl, and you know there's always been pills, and alcohol's always kind of been an issue around here. It's not as bad as the other things is now, but it's still bad. You know, I think a lot of people are a little more, you know, observant about alcohol use and stuff like that more so than they used to be. But man, we got a real problem, and it's you know, people that are putting if you were undercover, you may be watching. If you were undercover, you wouldn't want somebody running around, you know, just spilling information on you, getting your name out in the light, so that somebody who had a hit on your head somewhere in another county. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked undercover before, so I've done a couple of undercover gigs. Matter of fact, when I first started working narcotics, I'd done a deal in Kilpatrick for the DeKalb County Drug Task Force. This is after I'd done a couple for them, but I bought a couple pounds of meth. And it was a buy bus takedown. So as soon as I gave the go word and seen the dope, that it was a buy bus. So that means we was going to take them down right then when we seen the dope. So when I seen the dope, gave the go word, SRT team comes in, makes it look like they arrest me, but they arrest the bad guy too. They take me off to one side and uncuff me. But you know, there was rumor mill that come back to them and to me that there was a price put on my head. Of course, we didn't use my real name or anything, but it's a different feeling knowing that somebody out there has green lighted you and they're willing to pay somebody money to take you out. You know, and while I'm thinking about it, since I looked at this, Jimmy Clyde, there's a lot more than donuts that I eat that has made my belly this big. A lot of it is fried taters.
Hey man, that's how I got mine too, brother. Hey man, how would you support the deputies and the staff that would be, you know, under your leadership?
Well, you know,
we've already talked about pay. But
the pay's there, but the other way is first thing is you've got to be there for each one of them. You've got to invest in each one of them. You've got to care about them and what's going on in their life. You know, and I tell the deputies this all the time that's under me now. I say, guys, listen, I understand we get monotonous in some of these calls because it's normal calls that we answer every day, day in, day out. You know, we kind of get hardened to it. I mean, we get used to it because we see it all the time. But you know, you've got to go into each situation with that person, and I would with the office staff and the ladies and whoever else I work with. But their problem may be small to you, or what's going on in their life may be small to you and not very important to you because it's not happening to you, but to them, that is the most important thing at the time.
That's exactly right.
You know, biggest thing is just be very supportive of them.
What is your perspective of new technology, like, you know, body cams and drones, and, you know, there's all kinds of, you know, just here recently with Officer Porch's incident, you know, there's, you know, the people found out that we actually use FLIR.
Yeah.
You know, of course, now that we served, and, you know, and the military's been using FLIR for a long time. So we actually know what it means, and, you know, we know what it's capable of. And,
Right.
you know, so when they're not telling the whole truth, some of us actually know they're not telling the whole truth
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
But we get it, and I understand that you can't disclose everything, you know, all your information, because you got people you're trying to protect at the same time. So, you know, it's you got to look out for. That's one of those situations where you got to look out for everybody. But what do you think about this new technology? Do you think it's, as far as the way it's used in policing, I see good and I see bad.
Yeah.
You know, I see that sometimes, depending on your perspective, you know, they could be helpful or harmful.
Right.
You know, how do you walk that line as a LEO?
The technology itself is great. And I'll just be honest with you, when body cams first come out, I had been doing this 16, 17 years. And it's no secret amongst people that it was a different breed of policing 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Times have evolved, things has changed. And, you know, so initially I was like, no, I don't need no body cam, man. I've policed for 15 years without a body cam. I don't need to start wearing one now. But it's good not only for you, it's good for the DA's office, for the prosecutors, it's good for the perp. And as long as you do what you're supposed to do, and you operate within the scope of your authority and the law, and
I say it this way:
it helps a lot.
if everybody would act right.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's the problem. Everybody ain't got to act right. And
technology
technology
would be irrelevant if everybody would just act right.
Yeah.
And that starts with the law enforcement, and it ends with, you know, the civilian. If everybody would stay calm and relax, you know what I mean, and just not do wrong to begin with, you know, we would have less and less and less.
Yeah.
You know,
but it is very beneficial, body cams especially, you know, and it's like a double-edged sword to some people, because you get this one that gets mad because this deputy or this officer wrote him a ticket or arrested him or said this or said that, and they come in, and of course, we're human. I get it. I've done it before. You've done it before. Everybody out there probably has done it before. Anytime you tell a story, you're going to skew it in your light.
Yeah.
Because you want to come out on top.
Don't matter who it is.
That's just human nature. So they come in and, oh yes, yes ma'am, and yes sir, and perfect little choir angel. Well, hang on, let's go get the body camera. And all of a sudden, this one that's claiming to, you know, sing in the church choir nightly, whether anybody's there or not, is spewing out 4-letter words that would make a sailor blush.
Yeah.
You know, but it also goes.
It also goes there
for the law enforcement too. You know, because of course they come in and they're, hey boss, you might get a complaint, but this. Okay, well let's download your body camera, and sometimes it's the other way around. You know, so it's very beneficial for accountability and transparency. Now your tricky part of that is when you can't release everything the people want you to release because it's an active investigation. And you got the DA saying, no, we're not releasing this because it's gonna, if it ever goes to court, it's gonna tamper the jury pool. Everybody's gonna see this, and then we're not gonna be able to get an impartial jury. And some people don't think about that, or they just don't want to hear that. They want what they want right then. They want to be in the know and be able to see it. And sometimes you just have to wait before you release it.
All right. What strategies would you bring to work, you know, with neighboring agencies, counties?
You've got to be willing to do everything you can to have good working relationships and work with every law enforcement, EMS, fire, citizens, community watch groups. You've got to be willing to put all you can into cooperation and working with them, because at the end of the day, you know, if we have a joint operation with Dade County, Scottsboro, Marion County, and we want to form. Well, okay, just we're getting ate up on the north end in burglaries, and we call DeKalb County and figure out they're getting ate up with burglaries on that end too, pretty close. So you want to be able to say, okay, well, let's form a task force or let's work together. Instead of trying to just have 2 or 3 investigators over here work on it, now you've got the resources of another agency, another office, along with 2 or 3 of their people probably. So now you've got 6 bodies, 6 investigators that's going to be working on this. Plus, you've got the resources that we can bring to the table, and DeKalb County may have resources that we ain't got that they can bring to the table, or, you know, whatever agency it is, or, you know, even community watch groups.
Right.
You know, hey, you can't have somebody in this particular area all the time because you've got to answer calls. But you know what? If you've got a good working relationship with the community watch group or the fire department or whatever, hey, man, we'll help you out. We'll set somebody out there watching, and we'll call if we see anything. You know, so that cooperation's it's top of the list, man.
All right, we're going to shift gears and close it out here. 5 questions. What leadership qualities do you believe are essential for a sheriff? For any sheriff, whether it's you or somebody else?
Well, you've got to be able to communicate and talk with people, and you've got to be willing to listen. Then you've got to be able to have empathy, understanding, and compassion, because you know, a lot of people don't realize that the weight and the power that title, the sheriff, I mean, that man's got a lot of power.
And
that's not just here. That's anywhere.
Yeah, it's the most powerful man in every county.
Exactly. So, you know, you've got to be willing. You've got to be able to sometimes step back and take a breath and say, okay, let's slow this down and let's do what's best. You've got to be willing to communicate effectively with the people, not only that's under you, but in the community. You've got to be willing to listen to their concerns and their problems and their praises, and balance it all out. You know, okay, we can work on this, or we can advocate for this, or whatever the case may be. But the biggest thing is you've got to be willing to sacrifice and be available just to listen and to try and help.
How has your personal life shaped the way that you lead and serve in the office currently?
Well, without getting too deep, I learned how to stay strong and lead a lot through my second child, RJ. We wasn't dealt the best hand with him, just like you're not always going to be dealt the best hand with everything in life. But I learned how to focus on keeping it together for him. You know, I didn't want him, because children, just like everybody else, can pick up on body language, and I didn't want him to ever be nervous or worried. I didn't want Raylan to ever be nervous or worried. So, yes, I would communicate with her and Grayson and Mom and Dad and all the people around me the gravity of the situation. But you had to have a tact about you to where it wasn't like the sky's falling, you know, like Chicken Little in the, you know, you had to be able to kind of balance there and say, okay, look, this is bad, but it could be worse, and we can get through this. And I've done that on more than one occasions, you know, through my personal life. And I believe that the way that I learned how to handle things, you know, at one time in my life when I was younger, I was hot-headed. I had a short temper. The Lord helped me out a lot with that. But even before the Lord come in, I was having to learn how to scale back before I was saved.
Yeah.
And then when I gained my salvation, man, he just done wonders. And now I can feel it when I start getting that way, you know, and I'm like, okay, let's slow down. Not to say that sometimes you still don't snap off, but
I think, you know, just being, and there's no secret that we're friends. I saw probably the second greatest, you know, the second largest change in you. It's kind of funny how they happen out of order. The incident out on the north side there, where you were involved in that. When you had to
when I was in my shooting.
Yeah, it was that afternoon. I bumped into you, and that's how I kind of always knew you and I would end up back together eventually. But out of the blue that day down at Jackson Square, I bumped into you, and like I always do, started out with a joke, and I could tell very swiftly that you were not in a joking mood that day. And then after that, I started trying to make an effort to periodically just check on you, just see how you were doing, because the look in your eye that day was different.
Yeah.
And obviously you go through something like that changes how, everybody always says, well, we tough guys, but it was me or him, I tell you this, well, that ain't, the yan's out the door.
Yeah.
When it comes time to stand on business, the yan is over.
Yeah.
And I saw a change that day, and then I thought, man, that'd be the most significant thing that ever happened to him until RJ.
Yeah.
And I, the Lord had me and you together, by then, and I walked through most of that with you, and I had walked through some similar things.
I was going to say,
myself.
little did you know that it's funny how the Lord works. And I believe that part of what you had to go through was preparing you to help people like me, because you had already been through it. And I've told Brother Chris this 100 times when it comes to witnessing to folks. I'm like, Chris, and he can tell you, I've called him before and said, hey, can I give so-and-so your number?
Yeah.
But and it started out as a joke, but it was really true. I used to say, if I carried you somewhere or I put you in jail, one of two things was going to happen. Either you was going to hear the Bible on tape, or you was going to be listening to bluegrass gospel. And if you said something, we was going to talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
Because that was my icebreaker of how to bring it up.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys that I carried to jail that would ask me stuff like that, or whatever, they would be like, they would listen to me. But I could look in their eyes, like you seen in my eyes that day, and I could tell that there was a disconnect. That there's like, oh yeah, you're just playing a part, man. You the police, you still put me in. They didn't really connect with me because I couldn't say that I had been where they had been, because I hadn't. But now Chris, on the other hand, had. He'd been the dope man. He'd been the gangster. He'd been in the jail. Mm-hmm. And I would get them there, and I could tell that there was that disconnect. And I'd say, hey, buddy, listen, if I can have a buddy that I know that made it through this with the help of Jesus, if I could have him call you, would you talk to him? And Chris can tell you those a couple times I'd call him. Yeah, most of them knew him. They'd say, well, who? And I'd say Chris Clements. Well, yeah, I know him, but I'm not going to tell you what we used to do.
Yeah.
But there was that connection factor.
Right. All right. So what would you like people who are going to vote? And I encourage everybody to vote, even if you don't vote the way I vote. I encourage you to go vote. I think it's important. But what would you have voters to know about you that they might not find in a campaign video or a podcast? If they could hear something right here in the next 60 to 90 seconds, what would be something that you want to know about you that they wouldn't see on a flyer or hear at a rally?
Well, I'll step out of the norm there, and I'll tell you, to those that and I'm like you, if they vote for me, I love that, but I want them to get out and vote, because that's what shapes your community, your country, your state. And in my opinion, if you don't get out and go vote, then you ain't got the right to stand up and gripe when something happens that you don't like, because you didn't vote. So you just need to go over and sit down. But if they wanted to know something, it would be, I'm not a lot different than anybody else. I realize that I'm just an old, dumb country boy that was entrusted to be a cop. Somehow the Lord let me do what I always wanted to do, and it's a very important job, but I'm nothing special. I'm not real smart. I'm going to get in there and make mistakes, because I ain't never been no sheriff before, but I'd like to be the sheriff. I think I can make positive changes. But I'll own up when I'm wrong. I'll eat crow. I sure will. And I'll tell you about it, and we'll work through it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not an important person, but I'm asking for you to give me the opportunity to do a very important job.
What legacy, if elected, whether it's 4 years or 6 years or 12 years or 20 more years, what legacy, when it's over, would you like for, for people to, what would you like to leave behind? What would be the legacy you'd like to leave behind?
At the sheriff's office or
Yes.
just in general?
Both. We'll go sheriff's office first.
Well, with the sheriff's office, I would just like them, I would like for my legacy to be, you know, that guy, he had you back. And he left this place better than he found it. And he done everything that he could to make it better, not only for him, for the deputies, for the community, for everybody. He just wanted to help.
All right.
Personally, the legacy that I want to leave behind is nothing of me. I want somebody to look and say, you know what? That used to be an SOB right there. He was a sorry scoundrel. He was a heathen, but quit laughing. But look what Jesus done with him.
Man, I just, everything reminds me of a song. And
Yeah.
Nazareth is eventually, Nazareth started playing in my ear.
No, personally, I wouldn't want them. My legacy, personally, I don't want it to be about me. I want them to say, you know what, he started out bad, but he finished good, and he done it for Jesus, and Jesus is what made him a better man. Jesus is what made him a better person.
Gave the skulls there. He caught the reference.
Yeah, I figured he would. I figured he would.
Jamie Terrell asked a question: can you vote for someone as far as a county elected? If you live in absolutely, if you live inside the county, you get to vote for county officials.
Yep. Yeah. County election is countywide. It don't matter if you're in Pisgah, Scottsboro section, Stevenson. If it's county election, you can vote. And I didn't even know Caleb Choate, the alderman, was on here. You should have him. He's a political figure. He's the alderman up there in New Hope.
Yeah, he's like he followed in his dad's footsteps and became the senator of New Hope, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember what thread it was on, but something was said one time, and Caleb said, I can't even remember what he said, but I remember I called him alderman, and he never did respond back to me.
Jeff said, "Oh my land." I probably make my wife drink more stomach medicine than anybody else, except for you, Craig. And a lot of people don't know this.
Dawn Jeffrey
my wife
used to hate me.
She hated you, man. She hated to see you coming. You pull up in the driveway.
I told
she'd
you
go,
I was
she'd go to the bedroom.
I told you I was a SOB.
Craig,
she said, I can hear her now. Oh my God, here comes that little skinny Skeletor looking. Yeah.
Let's stop. Let's stop. Let's get on to the last question.
I love you, Dawn Jeffrey.
Why should the people place their trust in Craig Holcomb to lead as the sheriff of Jackson County?
Man, that's a loaded question.
Oh, I know, but I'm a loaded tater. So.
Yeah. Well, come on, we don't want to go there.
Josh Brooks said I loaded mine up behind my desk at work.
You're double loaded.
Oh, let's go. We'll go easy now.
No.
I almost ran for mayor of Hollywood this time. A lot of people don't know that, but I mean, I came within, a hair of jumping in the race, but, another guy decided to run, and I decided I wasn't, it's not that I didn't think I could win. I just didn't want to run against him. And, it is what it is. And I got nothing against the guy in charge. I just, I feel like I could help, and I had to. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even really have to fight it off. My wife fought it off for me.
She just said no.
She just said, if you do it, you'll do it single.
Yeah,
so,
by yourself.
Yeah. So, but why should people? Why do you think? What is it about you that sets you apart from? And nothing. And again, it's not derogatory towards anybody else, but what do you feel like that you know about yourself that'd make you a good sheriff? That'd be a good way to say it.
Well, I know that I have a passion for that office. I have a passion for Jackson County. This is my home. This is where I've always been. That office is the only full-time law enforcement job I've had for the last 26, almost 27 years. I'm invested in it. I care what goes on. I want it to be the best office and department that it can be. I don't want. I want the people of the county to be proud of the agency that represents them. I want us to be good stewards and representatives for the county. There's a lot of times that we have to go out of the county to do various functions. Not only the sheriff, but the deputies. You know, when they go to classes, when they make prison runs, when they go pick another person up somewhere, and they represent the county. And so I'm invested. I've been invested a long time. I care for the county. I want everybody here to feel like they can call and get some help if they need it. And I'll be honest with you, there's people over my career that has told me we don't trust the sheriff's office, we don't trust the city police. I want to get that trust back. I want them to feel like they can call the office, and even if they don't get an answer they like, at least they got an answer.
Yeah.
And I want it to be an honest answer for them. You know, I want them to go away feeling like, you know, I didn't get the answer that I liked, but the man didn't lie to me. The man didn't steer me wrong. He didn't sugarcoat it, and he was honest with me, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm. You know, when Rocky came on, I learned a lot about the sheriff's office. Well, excuse me, about the office of sheriff that I had no idea about. You know, it is easy to form an opinion about, you know, that office and that job from the cheap seats, so to speak. But as I sat there that night and listened to, you know, Rocky talk about all of the different things that a sheriff has to do, you know, taking over, you know, being charged, you know, taking over as guardians for people that are incapacitated and don't have family and things like that. There was so many things that I learned about the office of sheriff that had nothing to do with policing. And you said it a minute ago, like the weight that the office carries is it's huge, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think just average. I had no idea. Just as an average citizen, and I like to think I know a little bit more than just an average citizen, and I don't know as much as I should or would like to. But you know, man, I had no idea. That night opened up my eyes about all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that nobody knows about. That's when I truly found out and discovered in my conversation with Rocky that there's so much that we just need to take the time to learn about.
Yeah.
Things
you know, a lot
just
of people have no idea. Well, guardianships, we'll take that for example. A lot of people have no idea that if a loved one or an old person has a family that, you know, for whatever reason can't or won't take care of them, and they're needing to go to a nursing home, or they're in a nursing home, or whatever the case may be, or maybe they just live here and all their family live off. You know, the way things currently are, that responsibility of guardianship falls to the sheriff. Yeah. Because we've really, I think that job ought to go to an attorney. I mean, because you about need an account degree or a law degree sometimes to handle the stuff that goes along with guardianships. But it falls to the sheriff. You're appointed the guardian, and until they find somebody to take over, it's the sheriff's responsibility. And a lot of people don't realize that. Elections, you know, every election that happens, them ballots don't just like go into la-la land. They have to be kept, I think it's for 3 years, maybe 5 years, but the sheriff is responsible for the security of the ballots after the election. A lot of people don't know that, you know, so that's more room that you got to use to store and keep up with stuff, you know. Something
else I found out between Chuck and Rocky's appointment was that in Jackson County, well, in the state of Alabama, that the coroner becomes the sheriff if you don't have one.
Yes, yes, and that's an old law.
Yeah.
It's been on the books for years. If the sheriff dies, resigns, leaves, or whatever, until the governor appoints a new sheriff, the coroner takes the position of sheriff.
That is just beyond my comprehension, especially when the sheriff has a chief of deputy. It doesn't make sense to me why.
Now I know there's been some talk that, and I don't know if it got passed this last time or not. I don't think it did, because usually you can look on the website, on the legislative website, and see the local bills. And the last time that I looked, I don't remember seeing it. But there's been some talk of doing it like some other counties in the state, where if the sheriff resigns, then the chief deputy automatically assumes that role until the governor makes an appointment, which generally would be the chief deputy.
Yeah, man, there's a bunch of comments.
Yeah. I guess one of the biggest things that, I pride myself on and I would want to do is just be fair with people. You're in, a lot of times, whether it's an offender or a victim, you're encountering a person at their worst. And sometimes just a little empathy goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are lighting up the comments, Craig, talking about, times when you, even from day one, and, how you, and I work with Stacy, and that's, working with Stacy, you hear, well, you'd obviously hear anything, but I do know this about it is, like, he talks a lot about some of the stuff he went through when he was on the commission. And one of the things that I have taken, and in that now having conversations through this podcast with other elected officials, I have found out that he was not lying about it, is when you have to do what's right for everybody. But if you want to really be successful, that may mean you don't get reelected.
Yeah.
But doing what's right for everybody is what making, if you're going to run and you're going to put yourself out there, you might as well do what's right for everybody to the best of your ability. And then you can live and die with the consequences of knowing.
You can lay down and sleep at night and not lose sleep.
Yeah.
Because that's what the people ultimately elect you to do. And just like I want to echo, that's what I've said before. There's nothing special about me. I'm not just super important. I'm just asking to do a very important job.
Right.
And I'm willing to put myself out there and do the best that I can. And I think I can make some positive changes. I care about the county. I care about the people in this county. I care about the deputies that work. And I've always tried to lead from the front. If you're willing to get out there and do whatever you asked your people to do, then, like I said earlier, they're gonna give it 110% to make you look good and do a good job.
Yeah. Well, Craig, I do appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and we've been going almost 2 hours, so I think everybody kind of knew this was going to be a long one.
Yeah.
This is what they call long-form content, folks. And there's 20-something people still watching. We appreciate all of you
mercy,
for hanging in here with us. It got up in the 30s there at one time, so I'm not an idiot. I know not everybody watches for the duration, but for those of you that have stayed the whole time, thank you so much. And for those of you that joined in for a period of time, had to get off, go to bed, those of you that are coming in on tail end, let me encourage you to go back and watch the whole thing, and listen, at least listen to ideas and agenda and things you'd like to accomplish. I hope everybody will take that in. And if you're out there and you're running for office and you'd like a seat at the table, I'd be glad to put you on the hot seat.
The hot seat.
Yeah, get in contact with me, shoot me a message. Let's talk. I don't even have to agree with you. Listen, this is I don't do this necessarily for me. I do like to talk. I do enjoy talking. But also, I also would enjoy a little to learn. Maybe you know something that I don't know, and I would enjoy hearing that. you know, I listen to you say a lot of things I don't necessarily like, but you know, you not necessarily tonight, but you know, through our lifetime, I think that's what probably has made you and me as close as we have, is the free exchange of ideas and opinions. Yours is always not always the same as mine, and that's okay.
Yep.
I mean, that's okay. You know, I'll take a bullet for you, and I know you would for me. So I don't have to agree. I mean, you're an Auburn fan, for crying out loud. I mean, who in the
Well, that's
world?
what's so good.
Yeah, who in the world would want to take a bullet for an Auburn fan? But I would.
Your wife's an Auburn fan,
Well,
too.
you know, I mean, I am glutton for punishment.
You might be eating pizza rolls.
Bruh, if I get pizza rolls, that's a delicacy. You know, she'll tell me real quick, like, just fend for yourself. You might want to stop and get you something on the way home, because I ain't cooking.
Yep.
And I don't blame her. She has to fool with food all day. She don't want to fool with it when she gets home. But I do enjoy it when she does cook. Now, she's a great cook. Here lately, Austin's been doing a lot of cooking, and I appreciate that. It turns out he's pretty good little cook. So he surprised me.
Has he done a pineapple chicken yet, though?
He has not. And Craig, it's going to be hard to beat your pineapple chicken, buddy.
Well,
I got news for all comers. That pineapple chicken's hard to beat. That is some good grub right there, my man. Now that you got me thinking about it, I got $15. I don't know how much a chicken goes for these days, but I mean, that and a can of pineapples can't be a killer.
Man, we've talked so long, we've outlasted the lights. Good gosh.
Man, you can't even get a good battery operated light anymore. Praise the Lord. Well, we're going to get out of here, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't liked or loved or shared, please do it now. This video will go down on Facebook after 30 days, but if you'll go to my YouTube page, if you just punch in my name, James Jeffrey Jr. on YouTube, you'll find my YouTube page, and it'll have the podcast logo as my picture. The Meet at the Creek logo will be on there, and all you got to have is a YouTube account. It's free. Don't cost you a thing. You go on there, you like that YouTube account, and I've started re-uploading videos that I was able to save, and I've even been breaking them down as I've had time into short form content, into 2 and 3 minute videos. I'll do that with this video too. I'll also leave the long form up, but go and like and share, man. I would really appreciate you.
I think they're getting tired. The numbers going down the more you talk.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, man.
That's good. That's good. Put people to sleep, baby. That's the last thing they hear before they drift off into their prayer life.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. It sure was a joy to have all of you listening, and I hope and pray that whatever happens.
What is this? James Jeffrey Ledwell.
Oh, that's Josh Brooks. I ain't even looking at the Facebook, and I know that's Josh Brooks. I got one for you, buddy. Oh my goodness. Oh Josh Skipper over there at the county. He's always got something to say, but anyhow, here it goes. I can hear it now. I won't never hear the end of that. So
yeah,
we better get out of here, Craig, or we won't never get out of here. Buddy, I love you. Appreciate you stopping by, and we'll do this again. Hopefully the next time we do this, it'll be maybe in your victory speech.
I hope so.
All
love
right.
you too. Vote Craig.
Vote Craig Holcomb for sheriff.
That's right.
If you don't vote Craig, vote for somebody.
That's right.
Or don't gripe. Well, we don't want to hear it if you ain't going to vote for somebody.
Go sit down if you ain't going to vote. We don't want to hear it.
That's right. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. And we do hope and pray that you have a good day. Until next time, I'm James Jeffrey. And for me and Craig Holcomb, God bless you. And good night.